Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on October 16th, 2021 at approximately 11:28 a.m. PST. Well, back to work, we suspect. Anyway, I've been working, as we know, on a number of projects, and here's the way things work. Okay, if you're working on writing, this is just another one of those little issues of how do you get things organized? What tools do I use to keep me organized? Now, as you know, I'm in the middle of writing a series of books. Quite a series of books, really. But in order to do that, I've got a number of little side projects on the go. As I've mentioned, this little tool here, this thing called List. Okay, I keep one handy to keep myself in order. Okay, for me, it works like an absolute charm, and I strongly recommend using it if you find you're having trouble keeping things in order. That list works like an absolute charm to keep you on top of it. Now, the other thing I've done, okay, and this is what really brought it about. Somebody asked me to show you some of what I've been doing as far as the figures go. When I'm writing the books, it comes in real handy having figures to help visualize it. Now, if you look over, just over here, you'll see a couple of dragons. Okay. Now, to put that in perspective, yeah, they're not as clear as I'd like, but you'll see a white dragon over there, right about there. Okay, that white dragon is a dragon by the name of Reproduction. Okay. Now, that's a dragon from the earlier books that haven't actually come out yet. Okay, but it's actually quite a decent size to it. I should show you this. Yeah, except you're not going to be able to see it at that distance. So I think what I'm going to do while I'm here is do it this way. So if you'll pardon me for half a second, I'm not going very far. What I'm actually doing is going here. Let's move that out of the way. Okay, well, I started with the white dragon, but we'll tell you this one in a little bit. Now, these figures are ones that I did not actually paint. These ones I found. They just happened to fit what I was working with. Okay, now, like I said, this dragon is literally the one that I'm using as to keep me focused on who Reproduction is. Now, that is a dragon from way back. Okay, from one of the earlier books. I honestly cannot tell you exactly which one. This one here, though, the purple one, that is a perfect rendition of the other dragon. These two are actually mates. Okay, this would be Yldrbac. This would be Reproduction. Now, to give you an idea of the size of a dragon. Okay, now here's the thing. This nice little dragon here is also known as a Rarahar. Okay, which is another race altogether. But it works beautifully in this case. Now, these little figures here that I paint, they start off white, and then I paint them with toothpicks and toothbrushes. But this will give you an idea of the size of these animals. Okay, well, no, that won't. This character here is a perfect rendition of another one of the ongoing characters. She shows up way in the beginning. She comes back at the end of the series. Okay, but this is Catalina Shorman. And you can tell by the size of the dragon just exactly how big we're looking at. Now, Yldrbac is a young dragon. Okay, at the time. Now, these little characters... Do I got a dragon handy here? Let me just see. Yep. This will work. This is closer to the side now. This one I haven't painted yet, obviously. This is the color they start out. But if you take a look at that, This, because of the figures, these are all fantasy figures from Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, now that's the size of a dragon. There's the size of a person. Gives you an idea what you're up against. Okay, now what I do, we'll just put that over there because I don't feel like getting up again. I take these characters, and as I find the ones that I'm looking for, I will pick them out and use them to help represent characters. Okay. Now, because of the fact that the Yldrbacian Chronicles are a science fiction, science fantasy realm, what I do is I'll take a look at the different characters. Okay. Like this one here. Okay. And again, this will give me an idea because it's the right size. Standard size person, and then we have this character by the name of Hablon. And as you can see, there's quite the height difference. Okay, which makes sense. But what I do is I take a sheet of paper and I'll take the character and design what colors I want and write it down. Because I'm only using a toothpick, which means you put a little bit of paint out and you're going to go through, you need a lot of characters to cover it much of the time. But by laying it out, I can get them all done, which is why I end up working on multiple characters and multiple figures all at the same time. Now, this is just one of those reasons why a list works. Okay, because I take a look at it and go, okay, what are the different colors that I require, and how to deal with it. Now, of course, as you can see, okay, it gets really difficult painting the inside of them on occasion. Now, I'm not a good artist, in my opinion. Okay, but it works for the purposes I require it for. Same as this character. Okay, now this is actually quite literally, this is an actual, this would be an iron golem. Now, of course, you can paint anything the color you desire it. Okay, but I put the list down. Okay, so I keep track of which ones I'm painting and what color I'm doing them in. Now, these I stumbled across. Okay, I didn't paint these at all. Didn't paint them. Didn't make them. I found them in a store. Okay, and they just happened to fit absolutely what I was looking for. So now I keep them handy. I got one other one over there that you can't quite see. Okay, that's sitting on the back shelf over there, and I'm just not going to get up and go and get it. But the trick to it, what I find is this. The more organized I am, the easier it is to get things done. And while I'm doing the writing side of things, okay, I've got up on this monitor here. I can tell you thus far, out of the entire saga, which when it gets all said and done, where are we here? That's the total. Let's just take a peek here. Okay, what do we? There we go. Where is it? Oh, yeah, that didn't work. So if we take a look at 400 pages per book and roughly 100,000 words per book, we're looking at a total of about 1.2 million words that I'm going to end up writing. Okay, so far I can tell you I've written 298,000 words, okay, for the entire saga. Now, Birth of the Wolfpack is the first one that came out with 101,000 words, 392 pages. Okay. When I get done, we're looking at, what, roughly 4,800 pages. So I'm about a quarter of the way through writing the books, writing the entire series. Birth of the Wolfpack is already out. The End of an Epoch is set to come out later this year, at the end of this year. Okay, and depending on when we get it done, it'll determine whether it gets done before Christmas or right after it. But by keeping tabs on this, I'm able to track exactly how far along I am, which is why, much as right now we've only got, I think, 100 pages left-ish. Where are we here? Now that one is that is book 12, so that is not the one that we need. Should have had this open already. Book 11, which is the end of an epoch, right, is, where is it here? Yeah, of course. We don't have the whole thing sorted around yet. Why is it? Would you mind actually going to where you belong? There we go. It's sitting at 295 pages. Okay. Oh, no, it is not. It's more than that. It just didn't finish loading yet. There we go. Okay, enough is enough. Let's jump to the end of it. Because apparently it's going to argue with me. There we go. 395 pages total. And right now we are at on the issue of doing final edit on it. Where are we here? Yeah, that worked out well. Didn't plan this very well, did I? We are almost at the 300 page mark because we got a little bit of a jump to go. Where are we? And there we are at page 281. Right, but we've only got 8 pages, then we jump ahead. So we're about 100 pages left to finish that one off as far as final edit goes. Once that's done, it goes to print. Okay, but keeping tabs on all of this helps me stay focused. It also helps me, by the way, keep my office organized so I can actually function. Which is why I've got the little figures here that I work with. Yeah, they're down on the table out of the way, but what the heck? Now, if you're in the process of trying to writing yourself, what I found works extremely well is if you take a look at what you're writing, get the idea on paper first. Okay, just get an overall, this is what I'm aiming at. And then what I found is working well now is I'll take just a little itty bitty bit. Okay, I'll give myself an idea. A dozen or so words to say, here's the thought line I'm on. Then expand that. Okay, like for instance, the other day I was working on a thought line. It took me 14 words to get the concept down, and when I went to write it, I came out at just over 500 words written to add to the story. Okay, and these are simply tools that I personally use. Okay, then this is just for me, it's an interesting way of staying on track. Now, if I take a look at the compendium, which will be at the end of all of the books, I've already started compiling that. And if I scroll down to the bottom of that little file, go all the way to the bottom of it here, and there are 457 entries already, and this is only on book 1 to speak of. This is only on the Birth of the Wolf Pack, where I've got names and what have you listed, so that you will be, if you're inclined that way, you'll be able to go back over it and go, this is where the character came in. Okay, again, this is just a way of organizing the energy in my world so things work well for me. They are tools that I can tell you work like an absolute charm for me. If you haven't got a way of staying organized, give it a shot and see how it works for you. Okay, best I can tell you is it's been proven to work for me, which by the way doesn't necessarily mean much. But don't forget, I've mentioned all along that doing anything on this planet requires cooperation. But working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everyone. Now, I do my own painting of these figures because they don't have to be perfect. I'm not painting them for resale. I'm painting them for my own use. Okay, so they don't have to be perfect. And in all fairness, no matter what you're painting, if somebody has told you that you're not good enough to market your stuff, that your artwork or your writing, your poetry isn't good enough, ignore them as best you can and do what you can. Follow your heart. but use your head to get there. Okay, like I'm certain that I could not have really effectively painted this dragon here. Okay, they did a fabulous job. It just happened to fit right. But you find the people that are functional for you. Okay, that can do the things you can't. Because the moment that you're not capable, you may be able to figure them out in time, but realistically, do you have the time or the inclination to do it? Okay, for me, it boils down to I enjoy writing, I enjoy putting the whole story together. And oddly enough, I'm putting the story together because I desire it to be written. You know, the optimum. Can we try English? The optimum idea is for it to generate an income for me, so that I can actually retire from work and just carry on writing. Okay, but this is why I said a long time ago, where it comes to your life, and this is really what it boils down to. Take a look at where your life is. Are you content with the way your life is running? If the answer is yes, you're doing well. If the answer is no, then it's time to really take a look at the way your world is and decide whether or not you're content with it and what you can do to actually alter the path it's on. Now, Feng Shui works beautifully, but you got to understand the principle of it, and that is to get the place organized so that the energy feels right. You know, I have these characters here. I just clear them off my desk so that I can work with them. The actual painting station is over there. Okay, that's where way on the other side, right beside the filing cabinet, is where I've got my actual painting station. But right now, I've been working on them here. Okay, but as you can see, I work on more than one at a time. Now, the other thing that I also recommend, and this is really because when you're dealing with the energy in your life, okay, the more you understand about you, the happier, the more content you are, the easier you'll find it to deal with the stresses of the outside world. Okay, now, one of the neat things that I found for me was this. I took a look at this whole fiasco that's going on right now, and I'm noticing staggering amounts of change happening. Some of it is really good, and then people keep doing absolutely bizarre ideas. Okay, for me personally, this whole situation of the pandemic that's going on has worked out beautifully. And don't get me wrong, it's not a question of I think it's a good thing. Was it pretty much a guarantee it was going to happen sooner or later? Certainly. Mankind keeps trying to outrun Mother Nature. Good luck with that thought. Decades back, mankind decided to make a better bumblebee, a better honeybee. That worked out well. We ended up with the neat little thing called killer bees. Now, that being said, don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Check out the facts yourself. I'm just telling you what I've seen. Okay. And especially when I start looking at past issues. I was talking to somebody the other day that flat out said, I don't want to hear, I don't care about what happened in history. It doesn't matter to me. Well, and in my opinion, honestly, it really doesn't make a lot of difference. What happened in the past, you cannot alter anyway. But it would be nice if people started listening and started thinking about what's happened in the past, because the idea that those that dwell on the past are doomed to repeat, and that those that don't know history are doomed to repeat it. Unfortunately, the other side of that reality is those that dwell on history are also doomed to repeat it. Okay, now this is how I spend my spare time. Okay, but I'm just about done reading the end of the encyclopedia. I've got 3 or 4 days more that it's probably going to take me to tie it off. And then that encyclopedia I will be finished with. As a matter of fact, where is it? Right there. Some of you may recognize this encyclopedia. Okay, I had it when I was a child. Okay, this is the one. I'm just down to the tail end of it. If you look where the what you call it, where the envelope is, the page marker, there's not much left because I've only got to read this. So I'll be done that in a few days. Okay. And it's got some interesting statements. The funny thing is, in today's world, the guys in this, now this was written, I think, in 1965-ish. Actually, let's just take a peek. I think I can find it pretty quick up front here. Just taking a look. Let's hope it doesn't take me too terribly long. No, 1973. Okay. This little encyclopedia. Now, I've actually read the whole thing cover to cover. I'm just about done the parent guide at the back of it. But back in 1973, kids were essentially the same. They still had the same problems that they have today, just not the same toys. Okay. So I'm reading that because I committed to myself that I was going to read the entire encyclopedia. I have. The other one I'm reading right now, and it's going to take me a couple of years in all likelihood, but I am working on it on a daily basis, and that's reading the Bible. And the reason I'm reading it is, frankly, well, number one, my father asked me to read it. He asked me to read the thing cover to cover. Never did get to it before he died, but I did give him my word I would. And in all reality, the only thing you have in life is your word. It's the only thing that you actually can hang on to, that nobody can take from you. They can coerce you into giving your word. They can lie to you and make it sound like a good idea. But in the end, you're the only one that can do it. Okay. And once you've given your word, yes, you can go back on it, but karmic law comes into play really importantly here. Okay. And that real important thing is when it comes into play, karmic law says energy out, energy in. If you desire people to be honest with you, be honest with them. If you desire people to treat you decently, treat them decently. Okay. And here's the other thing. There's a neat little saying that really does apply. All things in moderation. This idea that children should be should be seen and not heard doesn't work out well because they too have to figure out where their place in society is. Okay. But before you jump on anything really bizarre, when we're talking about children, and this is one of the reasons I read this, okay? Every person out there, every one of you, is a child. Okay, you may not know who your parents are, you may not like your parents, but the reality is, even if you were made in a test tube, okay, there was a male and female part to you that was combined. Meaning you do have parents making you a child. Now, this applies to every entity in existence, even the ones that are born, that reproduce asexually. They still have parents. Now, granted, they don't have a mother and a father per se, but what you end up with in that situation is the fact that even when you're looking at kids born to humans, okay, it's not just the parents that decide how the kid grows up. Your parents help. The parents are primary to start with. Teachers take on a role. The people you let them interact with, okay, all have an impact. Society on the whole raises everybody. Okay, now you can complain. You can go, it's not my fault. A lot of people will look at it and go, well, I had a lousy childhood and that's why I'm having trouble today. Well, there's a problem with that. I won't debate some of you have had a lousy childhood, had a lot of problems. Okay, but I will tell you, having got to where you are right now, and this is the same for every single person out there. Okay, whatever brought you to where you are, this is where you are. Now, you can't change what you've been through to get here. But what you can do is determine what you're going to do with where you are now and thus move forward. Okay. Now, there are a staggering number of people out there that are currently going, oh, I've got a mental illness, therefore, I've got a mental illness or I've got a physical disability, therefore, I'm not able to work. A staggering number of you are sitting on social services or on SSI or whatever country you're in, whatever they talk about for government assistance. Okay, and you get a monthly check, and you're going, and you sit there going, and like I said, this is just from what I've seen. Okay, this does not mean that you yourself, if you have to be on medical assistance, on social assistance, it doesn't mean you're doing this. So if it doesn't apply to you, don't pay attention to it. But there's a staggering number that are now starting to, in my opinion, claim disabilities, claim reasons why they can't work. I know of one gentleman in particular that I personally met. He went in and got onto social services because he had a bad leg. Now, this same gentleman was only in his late teens, early 20s, and was, he was definitively overweight, according to him, without a medical problem. And he would walk 5 miles without any assistance downtown, do his thing around downtown because he got on assistance and therefore didn't have to work. Well, somebody's paying for it. Okay. And he was claiming that he had a bad leg. And yet he would walk 5 miles a day without any form of assistance. Now, to me, this means he's milking the system. And there's a staggering number of people out there that do this. Okay. When I talk about me having a bad leg, I do. I've got a cane. Okay. So am I still working? Absolutely. I just simply found a job that I could sit down so I don't have to be up and walking. But if you're looking at it, if you're getting assistance, that's great. Absolutely. But put it to use. Spend your extra time, spend the time you've got available to volunteer at least a little, to help clean up the area, to talk to people. Do not make the mistake of going, I've got a government check, therefore I don't have to work. Because somebody's working, and karmic law does say energy out, energy in. If you're following the Bible says an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. Well, that also applies for an honest day's pay. Go out and do an honest day's work. Now, I certainly, if you'd been like my brother who has unfortunately passed away, if you were like him, he literally, physically could not stand up, sit down, lay down, stay awake, or stay asleep for longer than 2 hours at a time. You can't hold down a job that way. Okay, and yet he still found time to get himself educated and to go and work in the medical field, helping quadriplegics get reorganized. Okay, not bad for somebody with a few medical issues. Don't let anybody tell you cannot do things. Okay, you can almost always get around it. Now, granted, if you happen to be one of these unfortunate people that ended up losing a limb, the odds are you're not going to be picking anything up with that limb. Okay. Boy, did we ever get sidetracked there. When we're getting energy sorted around, okay, get it planned out so you know where you're heading. Think what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm going to walk you through. Yeah, I'm not going to put my foot in my mouth there because I don't know. I started off on one idea this morning and went completely sideways on myself. So, I will see you again tomorrow. Remember, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Okay, and don't forget to hit the alert button to let yourself know when the next video comes out. I will be here again tomorrow. Okay, until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.